Before you listen to another excuse, before you tell yourself, "I'll start tomorrow," pause for a moment, because the truth is, your goals are not missing. You are standing right in front of them. What's missing is the force to move forward when comfort tells you to stop. Most people in America grow up believing success comes from motivation, talent, or the right opportunity. But motivation fades, opportunities don't knock twice, and talent without discipline stays invisible. The people who rise, who win, who change their lives are not waiting to feel ready. They force themselves to act. This is not a feel-good speech. This is a wake-up call. A message for anyone tired of starting over, tired of watching others pass them by, tired of knowing deep down they were meant for more. If you've ever felt stuck, afraid, or unsure of your next move, this message is for you. By the end of this video, you won't just feel inspired. You'll understand why discipline beats motivation, why fear disappears through action, and why the person you must become is more important than the goal you want to reach. So don't scroll. Don't multitask. Give this message your full attention, because what you're about to hear has the power to change how you think, how you act, and how you chase your future. Self-discipline is stronger than motivation, because motivation is an emotional state, and emotions are temporary, unpredictable, and influenced by circumstances. One day you feel excited and driven, and the next day you feel tired, bored, or discouraged. If your progress depends only on motivation, your results will always be inconsistent. Self-discipline, on the other hand, is the ability to act regardless of how you feel. It is the internal authority that commands you to work even when comfort, fear, or laziness tries to take control. Discipline does not ask for permission from mood or energy levels. It functions on commitment. When you develop self-discipline, you no longer wait to feel ready, because you understand that readiness is created through action, not emotion. Discipline trains the mind to obey long-term goals instead of short-term desires. It builds a habit of consistency, and consistency compounds into massive results over time. Motivation may start the journey, but discipline is what keeps you moving when the excitement fades. It strengthens mental toughness by repeatedly proving to yourself that you can do what is necessary, not just what is easy. Each disciplined action reinforces confidence, because confidence is not born from thinking. It is born from keeping promises to yourself. Without discipline, talent is wasted, ideas remain unfinished, and goals stay imaginary. With discipline, even ordinary effort becomes extraordinary through repetition. Discipline turns pain into progress and struggle into structure. It allows you to push through resistance, silence excuses, and maintain focus when distractions are everywhere. Over time, discipline reshapes identity, transforming someone who once relied on motivation into someone who operates on standards. A disciplined person does not negotiate with weakness. They act according to purpose. This is why discipline outlasts motivation and ultimately determines who succeeds and who remains stuck. Because while motivation may inspire action occasionally, discipline guarantees action daily. A definite goal eliminates confusion, because the mind requires a clear target in order to function at its highest level. When a goal is vague or undefined, the mind wastes energy jumping between possibilities, doubts, and distractions, creating inner conflict and hesitation. Without a specific destination, effort becomes scattered, and scattered effort produces weak results. A clearly defined goal acts like a mental compass, giving direction to thoughts, decisions, and daily actions. It tells the mind what to focus on, and just as importantly, what to ignore. When a person knows exactly what they want, unnecessary choices disappear, and mental clarity replaces uncertainty. A definite goal also creates purpose, turning routine actions into meaningful steps rather than random tasks. It strengthens determination, because clarity removes the option of quitting easily. When the objective is known, excuses lose their power. The mind begins to search for ways to move forward instead of reasons to stop. Clear goals influence behavior at a subconscious level, shaping habits, priorities, and responses to challenges. They transform time from something that passes into something that is used intentionally. A definite goal also measures progress, allowing a person to recognize improvement and adjust direction. when necessary instead of feeling lost. Without clarity, setbacks feel like failures, but with a clear goal, setbacks become information. Decision-making becomes faster and more confident because each choice is filtered through the question of whether it moves closer to the objective. Confidence grows as the mind experiences alignment between intention and action. Clarity also fuels persistence because when the reason for effort is known, temporary discomfort becomes tolerable. A definite goal disciplines attention, reduces procrastination, and creates momentum through focus. It replaces confusion with certainty and replaces wandering with direction. When the mind has a fixed destination, it organizes effort, strengthens belief, and channels energy toward achievement rather than hesitation. The mind responds to repeated commands because repetition shapes belief, focus, and behavior over time. Whatever the mind hears consistently, it begins to accept as familiar, and familiarity gradually turns into conviction. When a person repeatedly directs their thoughts toward achievement, progress, and success, the mind starts to operate in alignment with those instructions. Thoughts influence emotions, emotions influence actions, and actions determine results, making mental repetition a powerful force in shaping outcomes. Without conscious direction, the mind defaults to patterns built from past experiences, fears, and external influences, often reinforcing limitation rather than growth. Repeated positive commands interrupt these automatic patterns and replace them with purposeful thinking. The mind does not distinguish between what is imagined repeatedly and what is experienced repeatedly. It responds to both as reality. When goals and affirming thoughts are consistently impressed upon the mind, attention naturally shifts toward opportunities, solutions, and productive behaviors. Doubt weakens as confidence grows through familiarity with success-focused thinking. Repetition also builds mental discipline by training focus and reducing internal resistance. At first, directing the mind may feel forced, but persistence turns effort into habit. Once a habit is formed, the mind begins to work automatically in support of the desired outcome. This process strengthens belief because belief is not created instantly, but developed through continuous reinforcement. Repeated commands also influence decision-making, subtly guiding choices that align with long-term goals rather than immediate comfort. Over time, the mind becomes an ally instead of an obstacle. This is why individuals who consistently think about progress tend to recognize chances others overlook. Their minds are conditioned to expect movement forward rather than stagnation. By deliberately repeating constructive thoughts, a person gradually reshapes inner dialogue, replaces hesitation with direction, and builds a mental environment where achievement feels natural rather than forced. Fear and doubt survive in hesitation, but they weaken the moment action begins. The human mind often exaggerates risks when nothing is being done, creating imagined outcomes that feel more threatening than reality. When a person delays action, fear gains time to grow, multiplying doubts and excuses that make progress feel impossible. Action interrupts this cycle by shifting attention from imagined danger to practical movement. Even small steps create evidence that fear is not as powerful as it appears. Once action is taken, the mind receives new information, replacing uncertainty with experience. This experience builds confidence because confidence is formed through doing, not thinking. Fear thrives in the unknown, and action transforms the unknown into something familiar and manageable. Each step forward reduces emotional intensity and restores a sense of control. Action also changes internal dialogue, replacing what-if thoughts with what-next thinking. Doubt loses influence when results, however minor, begin to appear. Momentum develops as action leads to progress, and progress strengthens belief in one's ability to continue. This momentum becomes a psychological advantage, making future steps easier to take. Fear does not disappear instantly, but it loses authority when challenged repeatedly through action. The mind learns that discomfort is temporary and survivable. Over time, taking action becomes a habit, and fear becomes a signal to move rather than retreat. Action builds resilience by proving that setbacks are not fatal but informative. Each attempt, whether successful or not, reduces sensitivity to fear and strengthens emotional endurance. Action also brings clarity, revealing practical solutions that thinking alone cannot uncover. When the body moves, the mind follows, aligning thoughts with behavior. This alignment weakens internal conflict and strengthens determination. By consistently acting despite fear, a person trains the mind to associate progress with courage, gradually replacing avoidance with forward motion and uncertainty with confidence. Persistence transforms failure into feedback because it changes the meaning assigned to setbacks. When a person lacks persistence, failure feels final, personal, and discouraging, often leading to withdrawal and self-doubt. With persistence, failure becomes temporary and useful, serving as information rather than a verdict. Each failed attempt reveals what does not work, narrowing the path toward what eventually will. This mindset keeps effort alive instead of allowing disappointment to stop progress. Persistent individuals understand that success rarely follows a straight line. It is shaped through repeated trials, adjustments, and corrections. Failure exposes weaknesses in strategy, skill, or timing, and persistence ensures those weaknesses are addressed rather than avoided. Instead of asking why failure happened in a negative way, persistence encourages the question of what can be learned and improved. This approach builds emotional resilience, reducing the fear of trying again. Over time, repeated exposure to setbacks lowers their emotional impact, making challenges feel manageable rather than overwhelming. Persistence also strengthens problem-solving ability because continued effort demands creativity and adaptation. Each attempt refines judgment, sharpens awareness, and improves execution. What once seemed like defeat becomes guidance, pointing toward a better approach. Persistent effort builds confidence, not from constant success, but from the knowledge that quitting is no longer an option. This confidence grows stronger because it is earned through endurance rather than ease. Persistence also reshapes identity, turning someone who once feared failure into someone who expects obstacles and moves forward anyway. The mind learns to separate outcome from self-worth, preventing discouragement from becoming permanent. As persistence continues, progress becomes more visible, reinforcing belief and motivation. Failure loses its power to intimidate because it is no longer seen as an end, but as part of the process. Each setback adds experience, clarity, and strength, gradually converting effort into mastery and resistance into momentum. Becoming the person your goal requires means you understanding that achievement is not just about reaching an external outcome, but about internal transformation. Goals act as mirrors, revealing gaps in character, habits, skills, and thinking that must be filled before success can be sustained. If a person attempts to achieve a goal without changing who they are, the results will either be short-lived or never fully realized. Every meaningful goal demands a higher version of discipline, responsibility, focus, and resilience. Growth happens when daily behavior is adjusted to match the standards of the desired outcome. This process requires honesty, because it exposes comfort zones and weaknesses that must be confronted rather than avoided. Becoming the required person involves replacing limiting habits with constructive ones and exchanging reactive behavior for intentional action. Identity plays a powerful role in achievement because people naturally act in alignment with how they see themselves. When self-image remains small, actions remain inconsistent. As identity expands, behavior follows. This transformation is gradual, often uncomfortable, but it is necessary for lasting success. The goal becomes a training ground that shapes decision-making and strengthens character. Each choice either moves a person closer to the required version of themselves or keeps them attached to the old identity. Consistent effort reshapes belief, reinforcing the idea that growth is possible through action. Over time, new habits feel natural, and old patterns lose their influence. This evolution builds self-respect because progress is no longer dependent on external validation. The person begins to trust their ability to adapt and rise. When identity aligns with the goal, effort feels purposeful rather than forced. Achievement then becomes a reflection of who the person has become, not just something they have obtained. In conclusion, achieving any meaningful goal is not a matter of luck, talent, or perfect timing. It is a matter of inner command. When you discipline yourself instead of waiting for motivation, when you define your goal with absolute clarity, when you train your mind through repeated direction, when you act in spite of fear, when you persist through failure, And when you grow into the person your goal demands, success becomes a natural outcome rather than a distant dream. This journey requires courage, consistency, and personal responsibility, but it rewards those who refuse to surrender control of their future. Every step you take in self-discipline strengthens your confidence. Every clear decision sharpens your focus, and every act of persistence builds momentum. The power to achieve has always been within you, waiting for direction and determination to activate it. Good luck on your journey toward achievement and personal growth. May you remain strong in discipline, clear in purpose, and persistent in action. Thank you for your time, your attention, and your willingness to invest in your own success.